Hey guys, we'll get started in just a minute, but welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
Just want to make sure everyone who wants to get in can get in.
Hello.
Hey, I think we're still got a few
right.
onesies and twosies, but I think you can start.
We can get started. All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. I'm Suzanne Nielsen, and Laura Cameron is with us too. And we are your hosts. And this is, of course, sponsored by Zen Yarn Garden. So we want to thank them. And they are also giving away gift certificates tonight too. So we get to give 2 of those out. And Laura will tell us more about those when it comes. But yeah, or Laura, do you want to say a little something now too? Or
Sure. We will tonight, Suzanne is going to go over the second part of our tutorial on the 10-stitch blanket. That is a pattern by Frankie Brown. And we have kits available. I'm going to go ahead and put the link for that in the chat thread. And I will tell you that the designer is Frankie Brown, and the pattern is free. It's on Ravelry, and she would love it if anyone who decided to knit the pattern supports her favorite charity. I'm going to put a little snippet of what she would like in there as well. She supports the Children's Liver Disease Foundation, a charity which funds research and supports family of children with liver disease. She has built a fundraising page, so if you want to go and make a small donation, if you choose to make this project, I'm sure she would love that. You can get our kit, or you can do this out of stash you have at home. It calls for worsted weight yarn. And if you've got leftover skeins of Zen Yarn Garden worsted, or we'll let you use another yarn, but we just won't talk about it tonight. You can certainly make this one out of stash. So I will turn it back to, I guess last week we covered sort of the cast on and getting through the first couple corners. And then tonight we're going to talk about how you begin to join your work. It's called the 10-stitch blanket because you're only working on 10 stitches at a time, and you're working back and forth and attaching as you go. So if you missed last week's tutorial, all of our tutorials are on YouTube, and I'm going to put the link for that in there. I'm very busy here. Spamming you with all the links. You can see part 1 of the tutorial from last week on our YouTube account. And I will turn it back to you, Suzanne, to get started on this week's.
all right, yeah. So Laura knit this beautiful one. So I'll switch my camera maybe and talk about it more. But yeah, they're recorded, so you can catch last week's and go back and look at that. I did change my yarn this time, so hopefully we will be able to see it better. So I used just plain undyed yarn here so that we can see without it being like crazy contrast like it was in this picture, although I also adjusted my camera and maybe that's a little bit better, but I still think it's easier to see just on the undyed. So that's what I'm using here, and it's easier to see also when you have when you're like working alongside another color. So at first, in the center of your blanket, you'll be working on that same color that you started with. So we can kind of find the start of our blanket here. Is right here. And last week we knit all the way like this, and we turned this corner and then turned this corner. And then we are going to start learning how to knit along here and join it with this part. And then we just keep working like this. We join one side and the blanket just keeps growing. But you can see in the center, it's just one color of yarn. But as we can like follow the spiral around and see where Laura shifted. All right, here it is. So she kept going in these square spirals until she got to this point, and then she started with the new color. So for this section, she's using the new color and joining it to where the previous color was. So this is an open edge as you're working, and this edge gets joined as you go all the way around. And you'll see in the pattern that she used the chain stitch join method that's in the pattern. There's also, you can also do another method, which is just a regular join, and you wouldn't see this chain in between. I think it makes a nice definition to do that chain. But if you don't do the chain, it will look more like the reverse side, where it's just kind of a ridge or a bump it's a little bit, you don't really see it. You do feel it a little bit, it's just a little bit thicker there, but you don't see it as much. So there's two options there. I'm going to cover the chain method here. So let's see, we can go back to this one too. So again, yesterday or last week, I cast on here and we got all the way around back to this point. So I'm back to this point now. And we've done the turn 2 corners, and now we're ready to knit back and forth just straight, but we have to join to this side. So that's what we'll do now. I'm also going to start off not turning, or I'm going to start off turning. I'll show you how you can also not turn if you want to, but in this case, I don't see quite as much benefit to not turning. Like when you get to, what I found myself doing as I was knitting this little swatch is when I was working straight, I really did turn my work back and forth. It was only in the corner at some points that I found it easier to not turn, like I showed you last week. So just, you can gauge for yourself if you want to turn or not. Also, in this version, I did not do any slip stitch at the beginning. And I believe, Laura, that's what you said on your blanket. Did you do a slip stitch?
I did not do the slip stitch.
Right. So either way, we can look at my edge on this one to see the difference. But I'll show you what it looks like if you don't do the slip stitch. So, all right. So it's just knit across. Sorry, I guess I put it on this, but it's hard to see. So knit across your 10 stitches. But then when you get to this edge, whoops, we're going to do a little bit of something different. Okay, so when you get to the last stitch, she has you slip this last stitch knitwise. And then bring the yarn to the front. Let's see, okay, let's talk about where to pick up first. So she actually has really good photo tutorials in the pattern too. So that'll be nice to look at, but we can talk about it a little bit here. So you can see here, there's these 2 stitches are the ones that were just wrapped around. We can definitely see this one. It's super easy to see. It's just wrapped around the stitch. You can see it flows from here and just gets wrapped around. And then if we look on this side, there's another stitch. This stitch here has these 2 wraps around it. So those are the corner. That's like what's in the corner. So then we'd want to go to the next ridge, really. So we can really find the first ridge that's a complete row. So you can see this ridge here is its ends in like where the wraps and stuff are starting. So that is just like the corner. So we want to start on this first like full ridge. This is where it is a little bit easier if you are slipping those stitches, but it doesn't matter. In this case, don't think about the edge as like all the bumps. Think about it as finding a bump that's in this ridge. So you're just going to have like, you'll pick up 1 bump per ridge. So I see this nice bump right here. And we can just pick that up and knit it. Also, let's see. So Laura, did you do the yarn over also when you did yours, or did it matter as much?
I did not.
Okay.
The extra
so
yarn,
she talks about it
right.
If you like have a color change, then you might want to do this wrap. But let's look at Laura's because it looks great. So I think
it does show a little bit. So
yeah,
the reason she suggests doing the yarn over is because when you are connecting 2 colors to each other that don't match, you will see the little bit of the underside of the purl bump that you pick up into. I think that the chain sort of covers it, and so it doesn't bother me to have those little bits of blue there. But if you think that is something that's going to bother you, then she suggests that between the stitch that you slip and the stitch you pick up, you add a yarn over. And I know that's kind of going ahead of the actual, so, but that's what she's talking about when she's talking about that there. If you do that, it kind of hides the bump of what you're picking up.
Yeah. So let's try it, since that's the more complicated way. Or should we let's do one without it. How about? So I already slipped that one knitwise, and now I need to find whatever bump I'm gonna find next. So that's where, like, I kind of lost it here as we were talking, but this one is those two slipped, these is the corner slipped. Here's the first ridge that's all by itself, like just a straight ridge. And so I'm gonna look for that like bump and go into that and pick up a stitch. And then I pass the stitch that I slipped and the yarn over, if you make it, over the top of that stitch.
And so it's almost a little bit like you're binding off onto that stitch, which is what creates sort of the loop, the chain loop that.
But you'll notice that we still, so I slipped this stitch and I picked a stitch up, but then I put that stitch over the top. So I still have 10 stitches. So no matter what, you should always, like when you're actually knitting, you're always working with 10 stitches. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn my work here and then work back. So when you turn, she has you slip one stitch purlwise. So you notice, we'll do it again, but the last stitch we slipped was knitwise, and that helped us get the chain. But this stitch, we're going to slip it purlwise with the yarn toward the front, and then bring our yarn to the back and knit. All right. So then we'll
once
do
you
one
get
more
the hang
row.
of this definitely becomes rhythmic, particularly on the longer sides. It takes just a little bit to get used to where to slip your yarn and which way to slip. The reason that you have to slip knitwise on the one that's going to be the chain is otherwise it will twist it.
Yep. Which could be a good design element too. So just be consistent. I'll show you why in a little bit. But I started my next row. So we can do, so it's like knit 9. Now this is my last stitch. So slip it knitwise. And then we got to find out where we're going. In this one, I am going to give it that yarn over. So she talks about it as just like bringing the yarn forward and then finding your bump. So let's see if we can look closely here. So this one, this bump goes with this ridge. And now I need to find a bump that goes with this next ridge. So you can see I didn't do any slipping along. So it does kind of look like I have like a lot of options here. But the thing to remember is just that you only want one per ridge. So just make sure that, you know, this one that I picked up was in this ridge, and now I'm looking for that next ridge. So now I have this kind of yarn over, but I'll go in to this ridge.
And again, it kind of doesn't matter which part of the purl bump you pick up as long as you do it consistently.
Yes. So now that I've picked that up now, and I could have used this needle to do it, but and now I have that yarn over that she talks about. So I'm going to take that yarn over and the stitch that I slipped, whoops, and pull those both over. And now, I mean, of course, now that I chose a yarn that's that's not dyed, it's hard to see that it's getting covered up at all. But you can see that extra yarn over is right there, and it just helps kind of cover up this stitch if it would be a different color. So that's all you're doing. And then you go ahead and turn your work, bring the yarn to the front and slip the stitch purlwise and yarn to the back. and knit. And let's take a break and look at it. When your blanket gets bigger, you'll want to like rotate your work this way one time and then make sure you rotate your work the opposite the other time, and then it won't get all like twisted around and
tangled.
But all right, so we can look at it here and see. I'm also using kind of a big needle for this, so my gauge is kind of loosey-goosey, but you'll see now I have this chain that's forming as we join. And then it's pretty easy. You don't have to, well, she does say to count in this, you know, this time. And then you'll get so that you don't really have to be counting, but really you're just picking up, you're just making sure that you have like one ridge for each ridge that's over here. And when you get to this corner here, then we'll do another corner like we did here, but we don't have to, while you're in that corner, you're not joining it all, because as soon as you get to like stitch 9, then you wrap that stitch instead and work back, if that makes sense. Yeah, I have some more things to show, but let's take a little break. If you have questions, please let me know. We can, I can either work ahead and get to this corner if you want to see a corner again, maybe a corner with turning. We can do that, or let me know, put it in the chat. Let's see. And we'll let Laura take a pause and do our gift certificates.
Okay, we are giving away 2 $20 gift cards this evening. We'll do one now and one a little bit later. Go ahead and open your chat. Someone, Katrina would like to see, or Katrine would like to see corner with turning. So okay, if you want to work ahead while I'll just vamp for a little while. Yep. Go ahead and open your chat. And I will ask a trivia question. I will take the third correct answer. So, the sweater that is behind me on the mannequin is the V-back tee. Does anyone know what yarn we knit that out of? It is a project kit on Zen's website as well. And we've done past project,
This is super tricky, Laura, because you didn't mention this earlier.
I know.
Good one, good one.
Anyone?
Do we need some hints? Which Zen, like either base or
put up. It doesn't have to be the color.
The hint is like a gradient blank.
It was too tricky. I shouldn't have done that.
No,
okay.
But it is one of my favorites.
Well, I was going to say it's not the third person, but Ellen got it, so I would go ahead and give it to her. Yes, they are knit out of the gradient cakes. So, everyone's waiting and trying to be third. You're probably right, Britta. Ellen,
we should say just a random number next time or something. I don't know.
I'm going to declare you our winner. So go ahead and message. Go ahead and message Roxanne at Zen Yarn Garden. She's here in the chat. This is the V-back tee. It is by Jamie Hoffman, who is Knitosophy. We did a knit along with it, and we talked about it quite a few times. It is knit in the Luxe gradient cakes, which are 150 grams, 750 yards. And 1 will get you the smallest size, and 2 will get you most of the other sizes. A couple of the largest sizes need 3, but there weren't too many of those because it's at a little bit of a loose gauge. And I love mine. I wear it all the time. I haven't worn it in the last couple of weeks because it's been on the mannequin, but okay.
Yeah, I have mine too, and I love it. I wear it. And
I will, since I'm sure Suzanne is still knitting just a little bit, I'm going to share my screen real quickly, and I will show you where the kit is on the website. We have the 10 stitch blanket kit. It looks like it's still on sale a little bit. It is also possible to pay in installments. It's called the 10 stitch blanket kit because it's the 10 stitch blanket by Frankie Brown. It includes 8 colorways, which are on our Nightshade Worsted, which is a superwash merino base where one of the strands is dyed black, so it gives it a real mottled look. And the colors that we used for the blanket are part of our new, part of Zen's new color collection. and they each have 2 colors in them. So it looks like short repeats. The other thing I was going to say about the blanket is there is no magic on when to change colors. I changed colors whenever I did not have enough yarn to knit another row. Obviously, I changed them all basically on the front side, so that and then I wove in my ends on the back side. But the blanket can pretty much be done either way. The only color that I did not knit until I completely ran out of yarn was the final color, which for me was the brown and yellow. And that is because I wanted the blanket to be squared off, so I didn't have like a little portion of this. I wouldn't have been able to do one more full side. So that's the only one that I didn't finish. Everything else, I literally had 2 ends that I wove in and I was done.
But if you wanted, that could be kind of a design element too. You could have like a little tail or something.
It could, or I don't know if she talks about it in the, let me pull the other one, just because. So Frankie Brown has a whole series of 10 stitch blankets that she does in a variety of shapes. This one happens to be square, but there is also a circular one. And in the circular one, she actually shows you how you can kind of grade it down so that it's kind of, so that you don't just stop. And honestly, the way to do that would be to knit half a corner. Except that rather than wrapping, you would knit 2 together at the beginning. So you could actually just kind of gradient it down.
Oh yeah. That's a good one too.
Yeah, so that if you want to use every last little bit of the yarn, and you'll see I was actually crafty here because I thought maybe one day I would add more to it, so I so I didn't even quite finish it.
Nice.
And that's been a couple years and I haven't done anything else with it. But again, it's the same method. It's attaching with the, and this one I did not do the crochet. This one I did the method where you kind of just join together, and it does create a little extra fabric there. But
yeah, I like that chain. I'm going to show you guys a project that I started like when I first started knitting and I didn't know what I was doing. It's pretty funny, but it's a 10 stitch blanket. It's a, and I'm almost to that corner.
I was going to say, what we're doing right now is giving Suzanne a chance to knit to the corner so she can show you.
So any questions, let us know. But I also, I started this 10 stitch blanket, and of course I never finished it because then I got more excited about other projects. But it was also at a time when I wasn't like super consistent. So I'll show you. This is, she has a double 10 stitch blanket too. So you kind of start with one color the same way we did, and then you do another one, and then you're working, it's really like a 20 stitch blanket because you're working 10 stitches of each color. And it's really the same principles. It's just that you have this switch in the middle, but you can see how horrible I did. I wasn't consistent about how I switched the yarns, so it's a little just crazy in there. I didn't do the slip stitch, so it has like a little bit of that thicker join in between. Actually, I was pretty consistent, at least on that edge, so that's good. But
Stephanie says it looks fine from here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool looking.
If I give it to somebody, I'll just say you have to hold it at a distance.
I was going to say you're inspiring me to go look at her other patterns and do another sock yarn scraps or.
And I don't remember. I don't know. I feel like I just took her regular 10 stitch blanket and kind of fudged it and made this, but she does have like a real one now. So that's probably much better. That's probably why I was like floundering a bit and I was trying to just, I don't know, come up with something, but it's kind of fun because you see, 2 colors at once. So that's an idea too. Even with this kit, if you wanted to change it up a little bit, you could use those 2 colors and make them spiral different. Or you could only do that in the center. Because once you get to the bigger outside ones, you don't have very much space where there's like overlapping. I guess there is a tiny bit, but see, like on this edge or this, once you get to 1, 2, 3 colors out, this one only overlaps for that distance.
Yeah, the red was the last one that like just touched.
Yeah, the red here just barely touches. But it might be fun to, well, I don't know. That wouldn't be, I don't think you
Don't
could do
make
that.
it more
Anyway,
complicated.
Too much. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Now I
so
got
corner.
distracted.
And then once you turn the corner, we can show the other method of joining.
Yes, so here, oh yeah, let's see. Actually, I don't even know. Okay. So she's got lots of really good like tips and things. Let's see, I just was gonna look at this and see.
Yeah, this pattern is super long, so you may or may not want to print it out, but it's super long because it has photos and diagrams of everything you have to do.
Yeah, so you can look at which ones you want. Oh, here, I'm going to show my camera too while we're talking here. But you can, you can just look at the pattern and before you print it, I would look at it and decide what you want to print. But all right, so I'm getting again to the edge. I'm actually getting kind of close to the corner. So you can, Laura, actually, do you even, like, I can't even remember how to do it without doing the slipping.
What do you mean without doing the slipping?
Yeah.
Like just for the corner?
No, just on the edge. Let's see. Sorry, guys.
Well, I always slipped that first stitch to pass it over.
Yeah.
I just didn't do the yarn over in between.
Right. Oh, should I show the yarn over in between one? Yep.
No, you did that.
I did it once, yeah. But sorry, does she say how to do it without doing that chain stitch? So then you would just like knit, and you still have to get the ridge stitch, and you still pick up the edge ridge stitch and then pass the stitch over the top of it. But then you don't, so I see how I didn't slip that one here. Let me take that out and redo that. Okay, so this is stitch number 10. So if I don't want to have this chain and I just want it to be normal, I would knit that stitch and then come over and find the next ridge, and you could pick that up and knit it and then pass the stitch over. And then when you turned, you could just knit your way back. And then you wouldn't get that chain, but then your front and back of your blanket would look more the same. All right. So
yeah, because that will create sort of two purl bumps next to each other rather than your chain. You can see that you don't have the chain stitch there.
So you can see like my chain kind of ends here. This one, and then this is more of a purl bump. All right, but let's turn a corner now, because I got to the edge. I don't know, we could count and see if I did the right number of ridges, but let's see. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need one more. Okay, but let's just pretend. Let's pretend I had 10. And now I'll do another corner where where I do turn it, because I know yesterday or last week I was trying to show you without turning and it was trying to get a little confusing. So this time I'm going to show you actually like how I normally do it. So I still knit all the way. So when you're in the corner, it's knit 9. So you knit your 9 stitches, and then this is the stitch that's going to get wrapped. The way I like to do it is slip and then bring the yarn towards, bring the yarn to the front, and then slip the stitch back and turn your work. Okay, so now that stitch was just wrapped and then knit back. Okay, now since last time I twisted my needles this way, this time I'm going to try and make sure that I twist the other way, which doesn't matter yet because it's so small. But once you get to a bigger blanket, you'll want to do that. All right, so now it's knit 8. And now wrap this stitch. So you can see how this is the last stitch that kind of looks normal. So that's the one I want to wrap. So we slip it, bring the yarn to the front and slip it back, and then just turn our work and knit back. So at some point I get annoyed with turning and then that's when I start, just working backwards, working back instead of turning. But let's see. So here's the last normal looking stitch. So let's wrap it and turn. All right. And turn. And again, here's the last normal looking stitch, and that one already has a wrap on it. So I'm getting close to where I wouldn't turn.
I feel like I need a piano so I can play music while
I know. You start singing, Laura.
No, I could not.
All right, almost. All right, let's do a not turning one just for the sake of it. So knit that one. Here's the last normal looking one. So slip that stitch, bring the yarn to the front, slip it back. Here's where I could turn my work, but this time I'm not going to, because I only have so few stitches. At some point, it makes more sense to not. So now I'm working in the opposite direction without turning. Okay. So let's get to this corner, wrap it. My needle is still on the screen, hopefully.
Yep, I would have yelled at you if you weren't.
Ooh, thank you.
Okay, maybe not yelled, but
All right. Almost there, guys. And then we have to work our way back.
Yeah, basically you're gonna knit 9 and wrap, then knit 8 and wrap, then knit 7 and wrap, and keep going all the way down until you get to knit 1 and wrap.
Yep, so okay, I'm at knit 2 and wrap. All right. So that was knit 2 and wrap. And this last one is knit 1 and wrap. Okay, so this is like the normal knitting direction. So this is where you're at row, what is it, 9, I guess, or 8. So knit 1, whichever row is knit 1, then wrap the stitch. And then you could turn your work and knit that 1, and then turn your work back again.
So that's half your corner done.
So let's look at it. We can see this whole time I was doing the corner, I wasn't worrying at all about joining. I was just, so now you can see that I have this nice angle, and now I get to work back, and that does the other, like I just made this triangle right here, and now when I work back, I'll make the other triangle right there, and then work straight across. and then triangle, straight, triangle, straight, triangle, straight. So I'll show you a couple rows of this too.
Yeah, so basically the whole pattern, you learn it in that first little square, basically, because you're either turning a corner or so in the beginning, you have to sort of create the first few sides. And so you knit a little bit and then you turn a corner and then you turn a corner and then you start knitting back and joining. And then the rest of the blanket, you're either knitting back and joining or you're turning a corner.
All right, so this is the first row. That is after we've like worked our way all the way down to just knit one stitch. So this one is actually knit two and then wrap the next stitch. And I can, after that, then I'll show you how to look at it. So I'm wrapping that stitch. I am gonna not turn this time just because I only have 2 stitches and it's easier for me and faster. All right, so now I just did knit 2. So now it's knit 3. But let's look at it. So knit 3. So now remember how last time I worked all the way up until I saw one stitch that didn't look normal or that looked normal, and then I gave it a wrap. But in this case, I'm going to kind of work. So this one looks normal. So I'm going to knit it. And then I'm also going to knit one stitch that doesn't look normal. And I can see here clearly that there's already been 2 wraps on this stitch. So this stitch has this wrap hanging out on it, and it also has this wrap hanging out on it. And if you like pull them, you can look and see that it's just wrapped around those 2 legs of the stitch. So I do want to knit that one. And then I can look at this stitch and see that there's only 1 wrap on it. So I do want to wrap this one because we're trying to give each stitch 2 wraps. So if it has 2 wraps already, then knit it and go to the next one. And if it only has 1 wrap, then give it a wrap. So, all right, I'll turn on the next one so you can see that too. So I'm knit. So that's knit 3. Look at this one, it's got 2 wraps on it. 1, 2, so knit that one and give the next one a wrap. So slip, bring the yarn to the front, slip it back, and then turn and knit. And turn. All right, so we knit the one that has 2, give this one a wrap. You can just turn and then slip that first stitch too. I'll show you that this time. All right, so knit. That one has 2, knit it. So this time I'm just going to slip that stitch and bring my yarn like to the front and then turn and slip. So it's the same thing. I just slip it afterwards, whichever like flows better for you. Just make sure that that stitch is wrapped. You can see how it's wrapped with my yarn here. And continue on. All right, almost done there. Let's take a look at how it's coming out. So now I can see that I'm starting to work on this side. And once I have all stitches, like, I don't know, however you want to think about it, like reconciled, like I've wrapped each of them twice, then I knit down and then I'll start doing those join rows along here. And I think the one thing to make sure that you do is along this edge is make sure that you knit 10 ridges. So it's in this
This is the
section.
only time you will be picking up into a cast on. You will not be picking up into garter ridges, because
Right.
Every other time it's garter ridges that you'll see on the outside. It's just because this is precisely where you started. So in this section only, I would say count very carefully to make sure that you get your 10 ridges, because you will want to be sure to get one in each of those cast on stitches.
Yep. So what you can do is you can kind of ahead of time plan it out. I would say you can count, like decide if you're going to pick up this bump here or this one back here, and just be consistent with whichever one you do. And then make sure you have 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, see, if I had done that, then I know, okay, I'm going to pick up one here or here or something, just to make sure that I pick up 10 all the way across.
Yeah, that first little set is pretty tricky, but afterwards, it's always the same. You're always picking up along a side, so you're not picking up at the cast on edge.
All right, but let's see, do we have any questions or last?
We do not.
Thoughts? Yeah, it's really fun. It seems like maybe a little annoying if you turn, but the beauty of it is that you don't have this like blanket that has a row that takes you 20 minutes. You can kind of stop anytime you want. And that's what's kind of fun about it. It's a nice travel. What I like, well, you saw when I was working this one.
Stephanie says, and no seams.
Yeah, I know.
And I will say, I used I have a lovely set of straight needles that I used for this, because I don't use straight needles very often.
Yeah.
But I have a lovely set that I did use, because this is just such a short distance. I don't feel like I'm squishing all the stitches on there. Yeah. Now, before we conclude, we have another gift card.
Oh, yay.
Okay. So what is the, hold up your skein of the red and orange?
Which one?
Please. The red and orange. Okay. What yarn base is that called? I talked about it when I talked about the blanket.
Got hard ones this time, Laura.
I did do hard ones this time. I can't help it. Or tell me what weight it is.
Can you see it?
Okay. Number 3 is Deborah Sue. She said worsted. It's the Nightshade worsted. And so Deborah Sue, go ahead and message Zen Yarn Garden in the chat. I was reading the questions. Yes, it is the Nightshade worsted, which has that strand of black going through it. We have both a fingering and a worsted weight. Karen asks, do you pick up both loops of the cast on edge?
Yeah,
I did, but you don't have to, particularly if you are doing the chain loop, because the chain loop is going to cover that edge.
Yeah, well, let's see if we can find yours, Laura, here. Okay, so this is, oh, it doesn't look that good on the camera again because of the contrast, but so this is her edge where she was picking up along the cast on, because you can tell it's the only edge. All the rest are just corners, and then from then on she's just on the edge of the knitting.
Yeah, so I mean, it will leave you with a slight ridge there, but again, it doesn't really matter which bump or which loop you pick up, because if you are slipping that stitch so that you have kind of the crochet, almost the loop at or sorry, the chain at the edge, the chain will cover that up. So
I'll tell you what I would do. I don't know what you would do, Laura, exactly, but I would pick up just one, so it's a little bit thinner. If you pick up both, it's going to make it a little bit more of a ridge that stands up. But if you're consistent and you just pick up, either this one or this one, it's a little less. And, you're not going to, even if I like pull this way out and it looks like a big loop, it's not going to end up like that. It's gonna, once you pull it, it's gonna go back and just look normal
well, and
along
it will even out as you pick up the other stitches, because there'll be some tension there.
Yeah.
Like if you accidentally pull one too far, when you go to pick up the next one, it's gonna kind of
it'll pull it back. See how, look at this, I just pulled this way out. Then when I go to pick up this one, it kind of evened it out. And if I do this a little, it just evens it back out, and you're not going to see it at all.
You make a good point. I did go through both loops, but that's
Okay.
also probably why my ridge is more pronounced there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter either. It looks fine.
I was going to say, depending on which color you use, if you start with the color I started with, it won't even show.
Yeah, won't show it all. But I can tell, I mean, just by nature of it, this is going to feel a tiny bit thicker than I think when you pick up on the edge. I mean, this is,
well,
yeah, it feels a lot thicker.
I will make another note about color that we talked about last week. The colors were designed so that you can take one color and sort of flow into the next. So I started with the yellow and purple, and then I faded into the purple and blue, and then I faded into the blue and orange. But you could pick up anywhere in that sequence and start with any color at the center. The colors are listed in the kit in order. But like I could start with the red and orange and then go into the dark blue and because it kind of loops around, they all kind of fade into each other. Mm-hmm. So, or you could just do whatever colors.
You could randomize it and it would be interesting too. But the way it works is that, this one goes yellow and purple. So then the purple is the same between these two, but then this one has like the yellow and this color. So the yellow loops back to here.
Yeah. So, but my point is you could start at any color in the sequence and then just continue until you finish. Mm-hmm. So we started because Roxanne said, this is the order I want you to knit them in, but you could pick up anywhere.
And they're numbered. I think if you get the kit, it says like, this is number 4. I don't know.
And those are the numbers in the order that Roxanne wanted you to knit them, but you can mix them up. You can make your own easily.
But just for easiness sake, I think that's why they're numbered that way, but don't feel like you have to follow it.
Okay, so I will just put a couple last minute links in there. Remember, here is the blanket kit if you want to purchase a kit. The pattern itself is designed by Frankie Brown. It is free on Ravelry. It's the 10-stitch blanket. And then if you would be so kind, she would love a donation to her cause, which
check out her other stuff. She has some other
she's got wonderful patterns. And tonight's tutorial will be available either later tonight or early tomorrow on YouTube. And that's where you can find all of our Tutorial Tuesdays. We are up to, I believe, 45 or 46 now. And so they are all on that YouTube channel and go there within, the evening or the day after. So you can definitely check out part 1 if you missed last week.
And always feel free to send us messages and, let us know what you want to see next. We always are, up for suggestions and ideas. Otherwise, we'll just come up with random things that we think are fun.
Yeah, we probably won't have Tutorial Tuesdays for the next couple weeks. I'm going to be traveling a little bit and Suzanne might be as well. But we are already working.
You have enough for both of us. Laura's going on a cool trip.
I am. I'm going to Norway for a couple weeks. So and to delight in yarns. It's a running trip. I have to run 5K a day with my husband, but then I get to go. Then I get to go to the yarn stores. But I am working on, I posted this a little bit earlier today. I'm working on a new sample. This is going to be a cowl kit. Oops, that's the back. This is going to be a cowl kit that we'll be putting out in the fall. And I'm sure we'll have either a Tutorial Tuesday or a knit along for that. Suzanne's got a new pattern behind her. I have like
4 patterns that are just like waiting to get written down.
So we have tons of stuff that's going to come out. We will concentrate on some fall knits that you can make for yourself. Plus we'll pick some cool fun projects that you could either make for yourself or make as giftables for the holiday season. So we're definitely, we just need like 2 more weeks for the weather to cool off, maybe 4 weeks. And then we're going to get back into everything in September. So it was lovely to see you all. Enjoy your last couple weeks before school starts again and we all get back into the swing of things. As adults, we never really get summer vacation, do we? And we will see you guys again.
This is not a vacation for me. I have a 7-year-old that's home, so summer is like harder than.
I was going to say, but are you potentially going to reschedule your trip?
I hope so. But it gets busy.
Okay. Well,
thank you so much for joining us, ladies, and we'll see you next time.